Anyway, I only take that chopper out once a year for a rally.
This is already a man who is 70 years old, but he still wants to get a taste of that motorcycle adventure, to experience it a little, I would say. Hi, welcome to the Świat Motocykli channel.
If you don't know me, my name is Hubert.
We're meeting in the beautiful, picturesque Romania. This will be a big test of two Hondas. The Honda NC750X from 2025, which is a motorcycle that has returned to the lineup in a new form, and we'll compare it with the Transalp XL750. A motorcycle that has already undergone a facelift, some changes, and has been improved for 2025. Interestingly, both have a displacement of 750 cubic centimeters. Both supposedly represent the ADV segment, but these are two completely different motorcycles with completely different engines. Because despite sharing the same displacement, the platforms of these two machines have nothing in common. I should introduce my companion. This is my dad. His name is Donut. Donut like the American donuts, but not with a U, just Donut.
Spelled the regular Polish way.
Hi, hello everyone. I'm starting my journey on a Honda motorcycle with an automatic transmission. This is completely new to me. Until now, I've mostly ridden choppers. And this type of transmission is a complete novelty for me.
My dad is going to ride both motorcycles, and what's most interesting about all this is that he's approaching 70. He's the guy who taught me how to ride motorcycles. He bought me my first moped, a Jawa Mustang. Do you remember?
So he's the person who gave me my motorcycle education.
And now I'm going to show him a slightly different world. As my dad mentioned, up until now, he's only ever ridden chopper or cruiser motorcycles. For the first time in his life, this man will take the controls of an adventure motorcycle. On top of that, with an automatic transmission and all the fancy features that the new NC has. I won't even mention the new Transalp yet, because we'll see which one he likes more, which one he'll have more fun on. But why get ahead of ourselves? Let's ride. Let's just ride. Three deep breaths and it'll be fine. Good luck. Dad is really stressed. You have to forgive him. I honestly swear this is his first time doing something like this in his life. First time on a motorcycle with DCT. On a motorcycle where you sit like a touring rider, not like on a chopper. Besides, even with that chopper, it's just once a year for a rally. So here we have a man who's 70 years old, but still wants to get a taste of that motorcycle adventure, I'd say. Beep, beep. So, how are the first few kilometers, the first impressions?
Well, you just ride it so simple that your left leg and left hand are almost unnecessary.
With that brake, do you remember all the time to...
No, I'm riding all the time. But you know what? I'm small. And once I press the horn a bit too hard...
Yeah, I even mentioned in my own review that it feels like it should be set higher, because it's not very...
Those switches over there are bigger.
Yeah, of course.
They're a bit farther away from me.
Once you ride the Transalp, you'll see for yourself. However,
it's really small, and that's the only thing that's uncomfortable.
So, the switches are the first issue.
The motorcycle performs very well. It's easy to handle, well balanced, and above all, it takes corners nicely.
Oh.
Oh yeah.
Are you leaning into corners now?
Yes. The chopper is nowhere near a bike like this. These are touring bikes.
Now let me tell you, I set it to rain mode for you. Actually, I don't know, because the weather is really changeable and it looks pretty threatening in the mountains. The question now is, will it keep raining like this?
I'll stay this.
Right, because I could actually switch you to the touring map now. Then the motorcycle would be sharper. The gearbox would also work much faster, right? And besides that, I can also show you now how to change gears with the paddles. And on top of all that, there's also the option that when you twist the throttle harder, it will downshift automatically. That's called a kickdown.
I've practiced that.
Like on a motorcycle, right? You figured that out?
Yeah, I practiced that while overtaking.
That it's enough. It's like a car's kickdown, that when you...
It drops down 2 gears and...
And then it really pulls, right? Now, the 11 toughest kilometers are right at the top. Do you see how they're driving there, Italian style?
And we're right behind them.
The roof of the Transfăgărășan. A place that was born from the wild dream of a man who cared about nothing except the goal he wanted to achieve. The route itself is closely tied to a man named Nicolae Ceausescu, a man who left a cruel mark on this country's history. But no less cruel was another man, whose domain we are now heading towards.
And where is that?
Well, you'll see in a moment. No, really, we're about to find out. Because I already have one bar left there too. You're already on reserve, but you also have a much smaller tank, so we'll see how it goes, how much we fill up in one, how much in the other, and then we'll compare the fuel consumption.
It was actually better to drive on that rainy one.
Why?
Because he was shifting gears more smoothly, right? And now he just keeps stirring things up. Well, he's mixing gears all the time.
And if you had sports, you'd see how he'd mix things up. So what? Did you like it better?
More smooth, lazy? Yes.
It's 316 kilometers.
316. 4, just under 4 liters. Not quite.
Well, Transalp.
Yeah,
We'll see how much.
just under 4 liters.
NC's, no? And the traditional solution from NC. They say 3.5. We drove really gently. 11 liters. Currently on second refueling. We can repeat this action and then we'll see if there's a difference in fuel consumption or not. And now we're going to go there. That's where Vlad the Impaler lived. The man who became famous because his surname, Dracula, was later used in literature and film. Even though the real story has little in common with the one used in popular culture, we'll see what it actually looked like. You absolutely have to make sure to use this particular mode and then very slowly and carefully shift with it, right? Do you understand and have you got it?
Yeah.
Okay, because instead of D, you can also switch to M here and then change the gears manually with the paddles. Did you like riding with the automatic?
The first day is behind us. We've crossed the Transfăgărășan. What do you think of the Honda NC750X?
It's an excellent touring motorcycle. I think all touring motorcycles should be equipped with an automatic transmission. It doesn't require any effort from the rider. It pulls uphill on its own, shifts down when going downhill, downshifts automatically.
And didn't you feel when you were going downhill that at some point you were missing some load on the rear wheel and it downshifted quickly enough for you and you didn't have to help it in any way yourself? Because I haven't really shown you yet how you can assist it manually.
If you're going downhill, let's say in 5th gear, and you completely let off the throttle, it kind of coasts as if it's in neutral. The moment you lightly press the brake, it automatically downshifts for you, and it does this very quickly, lowering the gears and starting to brake with the engine.
So, as quickly as you think you want the gear to change, it's already done. You never had a situation where you were missing a gear at any point, right?
A few taps on the brake, a few presses of the foot brake, and the gears automatically drop down quickly.
And what about this? And how is it when you're driving uphill?
And it comes out of corners very well because it's already in a low gear, so it accelerates instantly. It doesn't feel any. No hill was a problem for it. This Honda just keeps going, always.
Well, you say that it's the best motorcycle.
That's because I have different experiences.
Besides, you haven't ridden any other adventure bikes yet, so that's a bit of a hasty conclusion. Just wait a bit until you get on the Transalp. End of discussion. I have a surprise for you, so something's about to happen.
Despite its considerable weight, it's quite light on the road. It's light. You can lay it down easily.
I can see you're getting better at those turns.
Yeah, I'm getting better, more and more confident.
Alright, I promised you a surprise.
There will be a surprise.
So, up until now, you've been riding in rain mode the whole time.
I haven't shown you yet how to change the modes here.
But we have several of them on this motorcycle. The rain mode uses the most traction control. It's the most engaged. Today is going to be a beautiful day.
This motorcycle won't slip on you, but it also limits the power to some extent. 59 horses, but of course they're used differently than on the motorcycle you've been riding until now.
And now we're going to unlock the full package for you, which means the full 59 horsepower, set it to road mode, and from this moment on, you'll be able to make full use of this motorcycle.
The gearbox will also work differently.
Right now, it will be more like this. Or do you even prefer the sport mode?
No, maybe not sport mode just yet.
Not yet. In that case,
I really like the touring mode.
you have sport and you have standard.
Alright.
That's the one.
It's called standard. Traction control will help you in the corners, although it won't interfere so much that it would bother you.
Of course, now the gearbox will work in a slightly more aggressive mode, right?
It will be stronger, faster.
Maybe I'll say something about the Transalp for a moment, because we've been focusing all this time on the new NC750X. And as for the new Transalp, some people criticize it, saying it's only new because it has a different headlight.
I'll be honest, the bike was actually released to the market not that long ago, and we've already seen an upgrade, a positive one, and I can no longer call it a typical sofa. First of all, the seat itself, the saddle, has been changed. And secondly, there's a real difference in the suspension itself. It's become much stiffer, and the motorcycle feels less like a boat, much more stable on the road. And I think that's a huge advantage, because something I used to criticize the Transalp for has now been improved and changed, and in a really short period of time. Because let me remind you, this motorcycle has only been on the market for what, 2 years? And look, the feedback from people who ride them is already strong enough that the manufacturer decided to make some changes to these machines. All right, that's it. A tall motorcycle. We're here. It's okay. Ha 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 ha.
Yes, I know.
Oh, look at you getting clever now.
What?
You got clever now, standing on the kickstand so you can swing your leg over.
See, necessity is the mother of invention.
And that's another day of riding behind us.
After all, there was a bike swap. Halfway through the day, we switched motorcycles, so I think it's time for your first impressions of the new bike.
The Transalp, well, size-wise, a lot has changed because the bike has grown, although I have an interesting fact about those dimensions to tell you in a moment.
But first I want to hear what you have to say about it, although I noticed that while you eagerly hopped on, getting off wasn't quite as easy.
Exactly. The Transalp itself makes a very positive impression.
Riding this motorcycle is simply a pleasure.
It's just that the bike has grown compared to the previous model. However, my legs haven't grown, and that's a bit of a problem. If you're not at least 1.80 meters, it's already hard to swing your legs over this motorcycle.
Or maybe it's not so much about height as it is about age.
Older people just don't swing their legs as easily, and that creates a bit of a problem for me. However, I've mastered the art of hopping on from the side stand, and the problem is solved.
And indeed, this motorcycle is quite a bit taller. But here's something interesting for you. If you were to choose the Transalp and decide on the Transalp, the one we have here comes with an 85 centimeter seat, which is the standard. But if we were configuring a brand new one from scratch, you could choose a lower seat, 82 centimeters. 3 centimeters on a motorcycle like this really makes a difference.
I really like riding on the big wheel, with the handlebars set higher, and the riding position is more upright on this motorcycle. And it truly gives the distinct impression that even the rider sits significantly much higher than on that particular little red one, indeed.
Definitely, because the seat is set much lower, I think at about 80 centimeters, so you sit quite comfortably. And what about the comfort of the seat? Do you think the one on the Transalp is better, or the one on the NCX?
The rider has significantly more freedom to comfortably move forward and backward on the Transalp, primarily because there are absolutely no restrictions or impediments present in this particular area.
Restriction, right?
Yes, over there the restriction is the fuel tank access. Here, there's no such thing. You can move around quite freely. It's considerably easier to stretch your legs, to stand up on the pegs, because they're thoughtfully set lower. And the riding position is notably more upright, which makes it significantly easier to change your position on this motorcycle. During long rides, as you know, you really need to move around a bit so you don't get completely stiff and uncomfortable.
Oh, for us? For you, not for us.
For example, I find it much more comfortable to sit on the NCK, even though the seat here is actually more spacious and bigger. When it comes to its placement and shape, I think the NCK seat is much nicer and suits my backside much better. I'm not talking about the riding position, but as for the seat itself, I would gladly have it here, because in the Transalp, even though I know very well that the seat has been changed and made firmer.
At first it seemed cool to me because it references the seats of competing motorcycles.
Not only has the suspension been stiffened and changed, and the seat as well, and all of this is supposed to fit together somehow, but the riding position on the Transalp also pushes us a bit more toward the front of the motorcycle, so we're kind of better anchored.
However, when it comes to comfort, there's something about the material. I don't know, something just doesn't feel ergonomically right to me. And I constantly have my back muscles a bit tensed, so I always feel a bit strained.
Here, on this seat, I feel more relaxed. I sit more softly, and I'm just generally more at ease.
So for example, I would rate this seat more positively than the other one, but of course everyone here has their own opinion.
I also wanted to talk to you about the wind protection.
How did you feel about the wind protection on the Transalp compared to, say, the NCK?
I didn't make any changes, because yesterday the weather was so favorable for riding that I didn't have to hide or expose myself too much.
But now I'm going to surprise you a bit. Why didn't you adjust the Transalp for yourself?
Because there's no way to adjust it here. See?
And with the NC, that's a motorcycle you can adjust with just 2 fingers, as we talked about earlier.
At least 3 different positions.
I think it actually has 4 or even 5.
So here, you can nicely adjust this shield, although if you look, the front fairing here is much wider and bigger, so you don't really need that much adjustment. But of course, you can always buy a taller windscreen or an additional deflector if you want, for people who are even taller or need better wind protection.
Wait, now I wanted to ask you, which motorcycle feels lighter to ride? Which one seems more agile, lighter, and more enjoyable to ride?
I definitely go with the big horse. For me, it's the more comfortable motorcycle. The small one doesn't lack anything. It's definitely good for city riding and short trips. However, when we take into account the kind of distances we cover, I find it better to ride this one.
So, at this moment, for the Transalpina that we're going to travel, would you choose the Transalp?
I would choose it.
Tell me, why does it seem easier for you to ride the motorcycle, even though it's much bigger, and even though it's harder for you to get off it because it's taller and so on?
Because this motorcycle weighs much less.
Well, maybe not a lot less, but for the size of both motorcycles, there is a difference.
Here you have a motorcycle that weighs 208 kilograms. This one, with the DCT gearbox, weighs 230 kilograms.
On top of that, the smaller front wheel makes it easier to maneuver in place, but of course the bigger one simply carries you better.
That's probably also why you get that feeling with the 21-inch front wheel.
Here we have a 19-inch front wheel.
So these are the kinds of differences you might not have read about on paper or felt the need to know, but they're what really determine how these bikes ride.
See, and now you notice it, right?
When you compare these 2 motorcycles side by side, you start to notice these changes at this point.
The big wheel lets me handle all the bumps in the road because this is Romania. The roads are very well marked, but yesterday we also had some stretches where the roads were under construction, all torn up. You don't feel it. The motorcycle just glides over those potholes.
I don't know how the smaller one handled the potholes, but this one just glided.
So now you take this motorcycle and let's get going. I'm curious about your final conclusions, which one you'll end up choosing. There are a lot of cool things here and a lot of cool things there.
Don't you miss having an automatic here?
No, the manual has always been like that for ages, so I didn't have to learn anything new here.
About the riding modes?
Now, I've set the bike to its normal mode for you because here you have 5 riding modes, I think, including 2 that are customizable.
No. 5 plus the customizable ones in the Transalp, because here you also have off-road modes.
At this point, I'd like to ask you to start using the quick shifter. A quick shifter is a device that allows you to change gears without using the clutch, of course, after starting the bike. So for stopping and starting, you still use the clutch as usual.
After that, without closing the throttle, just shift through the gears. Nothing will happen. The gears will change, it makes a nice sound, and it keeps going smoothly without that usual jolt. Let's keep going.
But let me tell you, things have really changed.
My whole brilliant plan has gone out the window, so to speak. I was counting on my dad getting on that NC, that he'd like it so much he'd fall in love with it, and I'd get to ride the whole Transalp route, but instead he's actually afraid of it.
And look at this, a taller, more powerful motorcycle, yet the spirit of a motorcyclist is still somewhere in him.
But we'll see what happens when the tight turns start on the Transalpina. When we climb up to 2,145 meters above sea level, will he still be saying the same thing? That is the question.
This is where our adventure begins.
Let them go ahead, because we need to give it a bit of gas in the turn, and they're blocking so much that they're about to stop.
Aloha, my friend. You could say we've done it. Sometimes it really takes some effort to choose a motorcycle. You rode the entire Transalpina today, just like I promised you this morning.
You rode the Transalp, and then we switched.
To try it out on different motorcycles to come to the conclusion that I really liked that red one. It turned out to be nimbler on all those descents.
Dad said, "It's a pity I didn't record that somewhere along the way."
He said, "Damn, because I'm changing my mind again."
My experience as a tester told me during our trip that this momentary fascination with the bigger motorcycle would pass and common sense would return.
The size and power of the motorcycle, on the one hand, made a huge impression on Dad, but on the other hand, they made it harder for him to have fun, blocking the potential he could have used to enjoy the light and simple construction of the motorcycle and to ride in conditions that were already difficult for him in a place he had never even imagined before.